benvenuto naturalmente. Welcome Nikita. Thank you to be here. Nikita Kadan è artista curatore ucraino che vive tra Kiev e Bucha. I suoi lavori spaziano dalla pittura alla grafica, dalla scultura all'installazione, dal disegno al video e sono spesso realizzati in collaborazione con storici, architetti, sociologi e anche attivisti per i diritti umani. Le sue opere intendono mettere in evidenza quelli che sono i meccanismi invisibili del potere a partire dalla cornice storica che è lo spunto per indagare le problematiche politiche e sociali contemporanee. Tra i temi più affrontati dall'artista c'è l'eredità dell'Unione Sovietica all'interno della cultura ucraina e l'impatto del conflitto russo-ucraino che l'artista vive in prima persona, dalle proteste della rivoluzione arancione nel 2004, l'invasione del Donbass nel 2014, fino naturalmente ai recenti eventi bellici iniziati tragicamente lo scorso febbraio. Per Artisti in Guerra ha realizzato quest'opera monumentale che è alle nostre spalle, The Shelter 2, che è la prosecuzione di un'opera presentata in occasione della Biennale di Istanbul nel 2015, un anno dopo l'invasione del Donbass. Quell'opera parlava traeva ispirazione dall'invasione del Donbass, era un rifugio sempre diviso in due parti, la parte superiore presentava frammenti prelevati da un museo di scienze naturali, c'erano vetri in frantumi e copertoni di automobile. Nella parte inferiore invece era proprio ricostruito un rifugio antiaereo con letti per ospitare eventuali abitanti del rifugio, ma all'interno dei letti era presente terra nella quale venivano coltivate delle piantine di sedano, che è una pianta estremamente resiliente. Quello che abbiamo notato è che se quella opera comunque rappresentava ancora una sorta di speranza nella resilienza dell'essere umano, a poter sopravvivere all'interno di contesti molto complessi come quelli che vivono appunto in tempo di guerra, questa opera alle nostre spalle che lui ha realizzato per questa mostra invece è ovviamente un passaggio successivo, è molto più cupo, è molto più doloroso. E consiste in una parete di libri, io ve la dico così e chiederò subito a lui di raccontarci l'opera, così non parlo io. E la parte invece inferiore sembra una trincea, sembra all'inizio un quadro monocromo nero, in realtà si può sfondare, si può entrare con la testa e si avverte questa sorta di insonorizzazione stranissima, è pieno di terra e sullo sfondo c'è la mano di un uomo, che è la mano dell'artista. So, Nikita, would you like to describe the work that you have presented here for the exhibition Artist at a Time of War?
Thank you, Diana. Just if I understood properly, I have to make a little correction. I wasn't really living in Bucha, but I rented an apartment for a while, which served as a second studio for me.
Okay.
And I worked with this place, and I could stay there, but I'm living and working in Kiev.
Okay.
But I used to visit Bucha very often and to work with Bucha tragedy. I made this work, Shelter 2, as a second chapter, as a continuation of the work Shelter, which was realized in 2015 at Istanbul Biennale. And it was realized also with Caroline as with curator, and when she proposed me to make a work in Castello di Rivoli, I had a sort of continuation. And actually the very idea of this continuity is important for me because the war is going on soon, for 9 years, people in the West, but often even people in Ukraine say when the war started, and they mean February 24th, 2022. Yep, war is going on since spring 2014, and this continuity between the work from 2015 and the work from 2023 is crucial. In first version it was the same construction, same shape, same size, two stores, and upstairs it was like imitation of some ruin, actually following the documentary photo of Donetsk local history museum ruined by missile hit, and they were like stuffed animals standing in between of the rubble. But I just added one element, rubber tires. I put them into the rubble. Rubber tires could hardly be in museum interior, but they were a well-known part of barricade of Maidan. Like rubble and barricades, sometimes they look very similar. They're close formally, but rubble is about it's a very fatal situation when history just falling on our heads, and barricade is about historical optimism, about being ready for struggle. And downstairs it was like a shelter room with two stored beds with the soil on them and plants growing, like when human survival turns to something almost like vegetation. And upstairs it was like a space of enlightenment, space of this progressivist knowledge, but in a situation of total collapse. And here again I turned to documentary photos, transforming them to something quite different. First, it's a well-known photo since the beginning of full-scale invasion, when lots of Ukrainian cities were constantly under shelling, and some people built a wall of the books inside of their apartment, like in front of a window. So when explosion will happen nearby, lots of people were killed, not only by missiles hitting their houses, but explosion wave breaks all the windows around, and people can be injured or killed just with fragments of glass. And yes, they made a protective wall of the books from the broken glass in case of explosion. And other photo is a photo from Bucha when it was deoccupied, when Russians escaped. Plenty of dead bodies just in the streets, and mass graves were found. And there is a well-known photo just of the soil and human hand in the soil. And I made a cast of my hand in bronze, and like this very dark bronze, which is material which is very much about commemoration, this very traditional type of commemoration through like figurative bronze sculpture. This material has this, very historical associations. And a room made of soil. But like several people told about this impression, when they enter the room they see just the black surface, but then they see the depths and finally the hand in the center.
Caroline says that is a Malevich when you enter. What do you think?
Now that flat black geometric shapes are usually associated with Malevich, and there is also some tradition to perceive it as some dark window into the unknown. For me, other concept of what black sphere is much closer, just an immanence, not as a representation, not the depiction of black square on white background, but just in fact black square on white background, not an image of black square, but square as it is, like pure immanence. And here it's maybe some effect of illusion, but it's not about like making illusion, making some trick. It's just about lack of the light, about historical darkness which we faced. Like when things are terribly clear, terribly obvious on one hand, and on other, we didn't have this means of bringing light of them. We are not trained to look at such things. We have no skills to look at such things. We are not experienced with it. Even in Ukraine during 8 years of the war, there were lots of possibilities to live like there is no war. Like in Kiev, in Lviv, in Odessa, you can live like there is no war. It was something only in the east, in a very poor region which was considered like very problematic, and plenty of people just ignored it. But now war touched each part, literally each part of Ukraine, and many people are just surprised, like stepping into some new epoch, some new chapter of history. And we need new sources of lights, like new lamps, new candles. We need to work with our own optics, with our eyes, with our techniques of seeing.
You said that you moved to Bucha for a short while, and do you think you went there because you wanted to be confronted to what really happened? Do you think that someone who has not experienced directly the war can describe it? I'm talking about an artist. Can an artist that hasn't lived the war directly can make an art on war?
But war can be described in a very different ways, and some artists could work only with representations in mass media or in social networks to have it already alienated, estranged, seen through some protective, transparent layer. Some artists can work with a refugee experience. There are a lot of artists who are refugees from Ukraine, and mainly female artists. And just because people of male gender, they have to stay inside of the country according to law. And sportsmen and cultural workers, including artists, they can live with some temporary permission, be obliged to return in time. But even this became very problematic just last 2 weeks. So now we have new regulations which make traveling to the cultural event outside of Ukraine almost impossible. And so this period of active Ukrainian cultural diplomacy, it could be over if these rules will not be changed. There is a lot of art with refugee experience, but also there are female artists who stayed, and also few male artists who flew from the country. So there are very, very different experience. And also imagine artists with children who had to leave to protect them, and this experience also should be described through art. And my friend artist, actually great artist, she works with her experience of mother and refugee. So it's possible to work with war in a very different way. And when we have this gender aspect now, it's only one of plenty of aspects. And so we can speak more directly about working with physical experience being inside of country in the war. It's not the same or just working with the war as with theme. And yeah, then to speak from this point, you really have to be in and to experience this, but then it's a question about so the way to testify, where your testimony could be like heard, and it's obvious that it's somehow needed for international community, while lots of people in the West still decide if it's like common problem, this war, or it's something only about Ukrainians and Russians, and okay, from Russia it's possible to have like cheap gas and petrol, and what we can have from Ukraine, especially when big part of the industry is ruined. So pragmatically saying, Ukraine is something maybe which can be paid as a price for cheap Russian gas if we avoid any ethical aspect. And lots of people in the West are still deciding like what is a way to avoid this ethical aspect but still have the hands clean. Yeah, so these testimonies aim to influence situation and influence like international audiences as well, like to speak in this regime of urgency. Art which is political always exists in two regimes. In a regime of urgency, when we have to act here and now. You know, somebody is beaten, raped and killed just here in front of our eyes. And in this sense, we have no time to discuss what is proper attitude from the positions of like different philosophical schools and what is, let's say, our moral choreography towards this act. We just have to intervene. It's a situation of urgency, but also the situation of long-term reflection when, you know, we think that, yes, there was Goya, there was Picasso, there were people like Vali Export or Liozano or these Vietnamese artists or Dora Maar or and so on and so on and so on. And they were relating to war. And sometimes like very important art of war was done in countries who intervene. Yeah, we have Vietnamese artists here, but we can speak about like Art Workers Coalition in USA, in the country which intervened. And yeah, so we have in mind all this historical dimension. And yeah, we have like projections on today. Yeah, and in this sense, like, you know, I really miss some anti-war cultural movement from the side of Russians who are already outside of Russia. Like, I'm thinking about, I don't know, like Hans and Lea Grundig, Karl Hofer, or Oskar Kokoschka, all those people who related to German culture, but who were like openly practical anti-Hitler, and in fact I miss such like articulated anti-Putinism and anti-Russian imperialism, you know, for like Russian artists and intellectuals not only those who are like hostages of Putin's police state, but I mean those who are in the West. No, there are great single persons, but I really miss the movement. So like lots of cultural projections, lots of ways of looking at the things through historical lenses, and yes, situation of urgency and situation of long-term reflection, and we always like in both we like coexist, like we in urgency and we in history.
Thank you, Nikita. I'm gonna ask you one last question, which is the role of social media. You have a diary, you use your personal social media to tell what is happening in your country, but social media are also very used. For example, this work comes out from 2 images found on internet. So how social media changed the perception of war for you and in general?
Yeah, it's well known already, like a stereotypical phrase that the current Russian-Ukrainian war is the most documented war in human history. It's enormous amount of visual evidences, like everybody on battlefield has a smartphone, and people in bombed and shelled cities also film it on their phones, and those who send these missiles, they also film it like everybody's operator, and everybody has like an Instagram, Telegram, TikTok, everything, and somehow in one hand, like with one hand, like people kill each other, with other hand they document and put the content on social media, and paradoxically, it doesn't help to understand the scale of catastrophe so much. Somehow the image of social media without this procedure of political reflection, it can work only for producing more and more affectation, while to be effective and to save lives, you need some clear mind. So, okay, I also one of those who hear air raid siren, who hear explosions and takes the phone and documents. I do this as well. And I put something on my Instagram, and especially I did it quite actively during first months to try to influence public opinion somehow. But I don't know if it was something special, anything special in my Instagram post. I think I was like there's hundreds of thousands same Ukrainians doing the same thing. But now, I think about like perspectives given by visual art, by literature, by theater, by poetry, which can, give us a dimension which social media cannot produce. Like first, critical art can deconstruct the mechanisms of propaganda. Then it can resist this automatization and banalization of perception of catastrophe, which actually is, some parallel product of social media. Yes, they keep us informed, but also they make us think about this quite automatically. They banalize what is going on. and art can act against this automatism of thinking. And third aspect is just about these tiny sensitive aspects, the things which you just cannot share on social media and cannot share with people who just scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. You can work with some tiny nuances of perception, with like experience which are to verbalize, which cannot be like retold. You know, social media do not tell us much about like smell or about what we feel with our fingers when we like touch the burnt tree. Yes, so this sensitivity is a third aspect. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Nikita. Thank you. Grazie a tutti per essere stati insieme a noi questa sera e buon proseguimento.